Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel and to the 46th episode of The Rolling Stone. There's a lot to talk about today, and the first story that we are talking about concerns the 2020 presidential election, which I think now that we are in March and the election is only 8 months away, right? It is becoming more and more concrete in people's minds. We are now actually living in the reality of, yes, this is a presidential election year, and so more and more people, I think, are paying attention to it. More and more people are tuning in and getting interested in it. And there were some very interesting developments this past week on Super Tuesday. And it's called Super Tuesday because that's when 14 states have their primaries all at once. You know, you have the Iowa caucuses, and then it's the New Hampshire primary, you switch over to Nevada, and then you have South Carolina, and then 14 states just bam have their primaries / caucuses all at once. And the big surprise was that Joe Biden had a very, very good night. And it's a surprise because if you've been keeping tabs on the election before this point, you'll know that Joe Biden has not exactly been the spiciest sandwich in the lunchbox, right? He has consistently not known what town or what state he was in when he was campaigning, has mistaken which office he's actually running for. He said one time, I'm Joe Biden and I'm running for the U.S. Senate. He has confused world leaders, thinking, that world leaders who have been dead for 15, 20, 30 years are actually alive, right? Completely garbled the prologue to the Declaration of Independence, where it says that all men are created equal, could not get it out. So, just not gaffes, exactly. He hasn't just misspoken every once in a while, like everyone does, but consistently has given the impression that he is not fully aware of what is happening and what his surroundings are. But regardless of all that, he had a very good night on Super Tuesday. And Bernie Sanders came in second. Curiously enough, before Super Tuesday, Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar had both dropped out. And curiously, and dare I say it even suspiciously, because as a lot of people were pointing out, what candidate would actually drop out of the race? You've made it all the way through, right? You've hung on through Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. You're just a few days away, 48 hours away from Super Tuesday. You still might win some primaries. You might win some delegates. You don't know what's going to happen, right, until after Super Tuesday. And so a lot of campaigns will wait until after Super Tuesday, and then they will reassess their campaign before deciding whether to continue or to toss in the towel. But Buttigieg and Klobuchar dropped out before Super Tuesday, and there was a lot of scuttlebutt that deals were made, promises were promised in exchange for both of them dropping out before Super Tuesday, and in addition, both of them coming out and supporting Joe Biden. Surprise, surprise. Now, after Super Tuesday, Mike Bloomberg dropped out of the race after spending $500 million, and that is, just a quick detour here, that is almost disappointing. Because Bloomberg really had a shot at the nomination. If Bloomberg wanted to win the nomination, he either had to have a dash of charisma, fire, and personality, or failing that, he needed to stay far and away from the debates. I do not know why he thought that he needed to be on that debate stage. I do not know if someone convinced him that he needed to be on that debate stage, because that's what killed him. Polls actually showed him kind of gaining ground, right, before those two embarrassing debate performances. If you watched those debates, you'll know what I mean. And if you didn't, they were just terrible, gang. He was lackluster, no personality, monotone, and didn't really give a sense that he knew exactly what he was doing or what his grand vision for being the president entailed, which was the direct opposite of his online digital campaign, which was sharp as a whip. His digital campaign was masterful, in my humble opinion. Okay, and it's almost disappointing because, like I said, he had a shot at the nomination, and what a lot of people, I think, will forget in the fact that he dropped out of the race immediately after Super Tuesday, after only winning 4 delegates. Okay, he spent $500 million of his fortune to get 4 delegates. What a lot of people, I think, will miss is this, that he really broke down a lot of the conventional wisdom about presidential politics. Because up until this point, every presidential campaign has said, the conventional wisdom has been, you have to make a performance from the very beginning. You have to start in the Iowa caucuses. You have to be in the Iowa caucuses to even have a shot at the nomination, right? Which is why now presidential campaigns start so damn early. Did you notice that actually we only had 1 year off? 2017, there were no presidential politics, and then in 2018, there were presidential politics. It kind of started in late 2018, early 2019. People kept coming in, you know. It's because people now feel like they need an entire year to campaign before those Iowa caucuses. The Iowa caucuses are almost a mini election in and of themselves. Bloomberg said, heck with that. I don't need that. I don't need to even be on the ballots in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, and Nevada. I'll pick up on the earlier ones and I'll snag the nomination that way. Revolutionary thinking, or at least out-of-the-box creative thinking. And that is going to play an element in future politics. At least that's my prediction. If people are smart, that's what they'll do. Again, in my humble opinion. But the big news from all of this is that Elizabeth Warren, the first Native American to run for president, has dropped out of the race. She performed abysmally on Super Tuesday. To give you an idea of how bad she did, she didn't win any primaries. Okay, so she won no primaries. Before or after Super Tuesday, she didn't even win her own state of Massachusetts. She's a senator. She's a sitting senator from Massachusetts. Massachusetts didn't even vote for her. She couldn't even win her own state of Massachusetts. That's how bad she was doing. That's how terrible of a candidate she was. Now, because of this, and this is the main point here of this story and of this video, is that the narrative is being woven, has been woven, they are now running pell-mell with it, is that Elizabeth Warren lost. She had to pull out of the election because she is a woman. I kid you not, gang. That is the narrative that is being woven. Elizabeth Warren would have had a great chance. She could have been a fantastic president, but America is just too misogynistic, too sexist, too bigoted, too full of toxic masculinity to even consider electing a woman to be president, okay? The New York Times has run with this. The Atlantic has run with this. NPR has run with this. We are now seeing story upon story upon story about how great Elizabeth Warren's campaign was, how strong were her ideas, but gosh darn it, the fact that she has a double X chromosome immediately doomed her. And there were other people, repeating this lie. 2 examples. Sherry Pagoda, who is a clinical psychiatrist at the University of Connecticut. She had a long Twitter thread about how her 12-year-old daughter was just, nonchalantly dejected, okay, when Warren dropped out of the race because, well, of course she didn't have a chance at actually winning. She's a woman. An actress, a very, minor actress named June Raphael also took to Twitter, and she said that, well, don't you dare tell your little girls that they can be anything that they want when you refuse to vote for a woman in the presidential election, when you refuse to make a woman your presidential candidate. And gang, this is Oh my gosh, this is obfuscation at its finest. This is obfuscation at its finest, because here's the thing. They have, the left is now obfuscating, that's my word for the day, the fact, okay? They're making it sound as if Elizabeth Warren lost the Democratic presidential nomination because of misogyny, bigotry, sexism, etc., etc., etc. If Elizabeth Warren had been the Democratic nominee, if she had gone up against Donald Trump in the general election, if this was November instead of March, and we had just had the actual election and Trump had clobbered her, then, pairing that with Trump's, kind of very stained, I will say it, relationship with women, you could plausibly, okay, make a case that this was about sexism, misogyny, etc., etc., and that's why she lost. Now, that would still be a pack of lies. Let me be very, very clear. All you would have to do is think about it for 30 seconds to realize, you would lose count of all the plot holes in that argument. But you could make a plausible story out of that scenario. You can't even do this here when Elizabeth Warren had to pull out of the primary, because guess what? As so many people pointed out, Elizabeth Warren wasn't running in a general election. She was in a primary, which means that the only Americans who were voting were registered Democrats, registered people on the left. They're the ones who denied her the opportunity to be the nominee for their party. It's not misogyny and sexism in America that's the problem. I mean, if it is the problem, it's on the left. And in a very weird but very real sense, the left does have a misogynistic and sexist problem. And that is their ongoing campaign, its ongoing campaign, to completely erase women from reality. And completely erasing them by getting full on board with the transgender movement, which says that all you need to do to be a woman is to choose to be a woman. And you choose to be a woman because some innate feeling tells you that you are really a woman, even though sex is just a social construct, and so there really can be no feeling of being a woman because it's just something that society arbitrarily created and pushed onto certain people because of their genitals. But even that isn't right, because genitals play absolutely no role in your sex or your gender. Okay? It's mind-boggling and it's insane. But that's where the left is today. And so they really do have a problem with women. They do have a misogynistic and sexist problem. It's just not the one that they realize. It's just not the one that they want to admit. But as always, there is something else in this story, and it's this idea, and it's especially the idea that was at the foundation of the tweets by Sherry Pagoda, that clinical psychologist from the University of Connecticut, and that small list actress, June Raphael. And I say small list not to be derogatory or anything, because she really is a small list. Okay, she has not done anything big in her career. I was looking at her IMDb page, a few days ago, and she really hasn't done anything that big. She is not in the same league as Julia Roberts, Scarlett Johansson, let's see, who else? Maggie Smith, Charlize Theron, actresses like that. Those are big A-list actresses, right? Meryl Streep is another one. These are big A-list actresses. These are actresses that studios court, begging them to be in their movies, right? Because they know that they are still box office draws. She is not like that. She has not done anything like that. So that's what I mean when I say that she's a small list actress. It's not me taking a personal jab at her. It's just, the facts, okay? But the big issue, okay, with Elizabeth Warren dropping out and with this narrative that it's all because she was a woman, that the country rejected her, etc., etc., the real terrible thing about that is the negative connotation that it's going to have with women and with girls especially. And that is the idea that it's at the foundation of Sherry Pagoda and June Raphael's tweets. Okay, and that's the real issue that I have, because they both made the case, right, that you are basically betraying. If you have girls, you're betraying them. And if you like girls, if you want girls to succeed, if you want girls to be quote unquote empowered, and if you honestly believe that girls can be whatever they want to be, then you just betrayed your own principles by not voting for Elizabeth Warren. And there are two things to this, okay? Because the truth is that Elizabeth Warren did not earn anybody's votes. Okay, Elizabeth Warren is the worst. She is the worst role model that girls could have. This is the candidate. This is the woman, just to give a quick review. This is the woman who lied about her ethnicity so that she could get a good job at Harvard. This is the woman who lied about being fired from her first teaching job because she was pregnant, completely throwing mud on the names and reputations of all the people on that school board and in that school administration who actually wanted her to continue teaching there. She chose to leave. They wanted her to stay. She said, nope, I'm leaving. They said, we accept your resignation with regret. She turned that around and lied and said, oh, I got pregnant and they fired me. She lied about that, throwing mud on the reputation and the names of all of those people, okay? This is the woman who, to the faces of a group of black ladies, and I make that distinction specifically because we, including the left, has made us so enamored about race, etc. Okay? Elizabeth Warren lied to the faces of a group of black ladies who said, if you, Elizabeth Warren, are against school choice, why did you send your son to a private school for several years? Why did you give your son the opportunity that you want to deny to our children? Elizabeth Warren lied to their faces by saying, I never sent my son to private school. I never did that. This is also the woman who lied about her own father, saying that he was a janitor, right? She was trying to rack up victim points for herself by saying how much she had struggled and how much she had had to overcome, but she quote unquote persevered, right? Even though her own dad, right? She lied about her dad being a janitor, even though her dad was never a janitor. That lie was a bridge too far, and her own brother actually came out publicly to call her out on it, saying our father was never a janitor, okay? That's the woman that the left and people like Sherry Pagoda and June Raphael are making the epitome for womanhood. They are making her the ultimate role model for girls. So not only are they telling girls, not only is the message that girls are getting today is that, hey, you want to be a strong, empowered woman, lie your face off to get whatever you want, like Elizabeth Warren. That's the first thing. The second thing, though, is by blaming Warren's loss, okay, on the fact of her biology, on the fact that she's a female. Never mind about the lies. Never mind that, she is really, honestly unlikable. Okay, I don't care what you think about Bernie Sanders or about, for example, Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard, but they are actually charismatic people, okay? Sanders, I disagree with. I can't think of a single thing that I agree with Sanders on. Personally, politically, philosophically, economically, etc., etc., etc. But he is chock full of charisma. He is just entertaining. He's someone who can command your presence. When he talks, you listen. He's enjoyable to listen to. Andrew Yang, I've never met the guy, probably will never meet him. But you know what? He seemed like an honestly Nice guy, semi-normal. He's as radical as the rest of them, but like they used to say when Bill Clinton was in the White House, Andrew Yang is a guy who seems like you could just sit down and have a beer with. Tulsi Gabbard genuinely seems like a nice woman, okay? Warren has nothing like that. She comes off as a scold, as a screed, and as a desperate panderer, okay? So she lies. She comes off as inauthentic. Her policy ideas are either watered down versions of Sanders' ideas, okay? So she's trying to kind of sit on the fence here, change a few things here, change a few things there, and once again cannot explain how these plans are actually going to come to fruition because she can't explain where the money is going to come from. And when people actually show the math and say it doesn't add up, she just, oh, that you're just lying. You're just lying. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. And if you don't believe what I'm talking about, you're probably a sexist misogynist who hates women and doesn't like it that I'm running for president. Okay, so all of these things contributed to her failure to do even a semi-decent run in the Democratic primary, okay? All of that doesn't matter. But people like Sherry Pagoda, June Raphael, and the people at The Atlantic, NPR, Vox, the New York Times, etc., 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 what they are all saying is that the only reason why she lost is because she's a woman. Now, turn that around and imagine what a little girl today, 8, 9, 10, 11, is going to think about this. She is going to think that if she wants something, she's automatically entitled to it because of her sex. The fact that she is a girl and she wants something automatically means that she should get it, which makes girls shallow. It makes them irresponsible. It makes them intellectually stagnant because none of those things matter. Hard work doesn't matter. Having good ideas doesn't matter. Knowing history and formulating solutions to problems doesn't matter. All that matters is your sex, that thing in between your legs, which they turn around and say doesn't matter in the slightest when it comes to gender ideology, but never mind about that. That's the only thing that matters. So why should you actually exert effort and time and money and blood, sweat, and tears to actually make yourself the best version that you can be so that you can actually attain your goals, whatever they are, when the message coming down from on high, from our elites, from our betters, from our woke, enlightened cultural masters is, well, if you're a girl and you want something, you automatically should get it just because you're a girl. We are betraying girls by doing that. The left has shown once again that it doesn't give a fig, doesn't give a tinker's damn about girls' genuine empowerment or anything like that. It's just a talking point, okay, to win woke points, cultural points, electoral points, whatever points they're trying to win. And you know what? If girls, if their development, if their personality, if their natures are stagnated and stunted because of that, well, you can't make an omelet without breaking a couple of eggs. So that's my rant about Super Tuesday and the election with a particular emphasis on Elizabeth Warren. That is story number 1.